Alrighty then, welcome back to Death by Dragons after a brief hiatus. I've been busy. This is a 2,000 point battle report. It is universal battle. I've got battle reports a little bit stacked up. To be honest, at the moment, I've got to pick and choose the ones that I'm going to do. I was like, I'm going to battle report every battle I do, but then turns out I played quite a lot. So I'm going to pick and choose the one. I've got a couple of universal battle ones I want to do, and I've got a couple of real life battles I want to put up. But this is a universal battle one, and the reason I want to put this up, this is the final round of the Clash of Claus tournament, which is a US-based universal battle tournament. You may remember, if you've been watching my videos previously, that I lost every round up to this point. So this is the fourth round, third round, can't remember. Anyway, I've lost every round up to this point. So this is very much the wooden spoon battle. So it's myself. I've forgotten the name of my opponent. I'll look it up. It was, bear with me, Bart Koehler. That's right. So myself and Bart battling out for bottom place with lists that we both hated. So that was quite fun. It was quite nice. My rats versus his goblins. So we thought we'd have a go. They're the two worst players in the tournament. Let's see how it came out. So these are my rats. So it's the same list as before, but I'll go through it real quick. 4 hordes of tunnel slaves, 2 hordes of shock troops, 1 with the brewer's sharpness, 2 hordes of blight, 1 with the potion of the caterpillar, 2 troops of claw shots, a weapon team with the storm of lead, so piercing, a warlock with bane chant and the inspiring talisman, a swarm cry with the loot, 1 demon spawn with wings, and a night terror. The night terror being the only thing from Clash 19 I'd bothered to put into my list, because I'm an idiot. On to the goblins. So these are Bart's goblins. He had a horde of rabble, a horde of trolls, a regiment of fleabag riders, and a horde of fleabag chariots. He had 3 war trombones, 2 kings on chariots, one of which had the brew of keen-eyedness, 3 slashers, all 3 of which were mounted with a sharp stick thrower, a horde of groggers goons, basically posh rabble, and then he had 3 whizzes, which he'd equipped, one of which had Bane Chant and Fireball and Inspiring Talisman, one of which had Mind Fog and Alchemist's Curse, and one of which had Drain Life and Vein of Shadows. So a real kind of like Swiss Army knife of Swiss Army knife of whizzes on fleabags. And I also said it was 2,000. It's not 2,000, of course it's not. It's a US tournament, so it was 2250. That's what we were fighting. Okay, so those were our lists. As I said, we both hated them, and we were forced to play them for just one more battle. So this was the map. So we had 2 height 4 forests. I think actually they might have been height 6 forests because it was the US tournament. I had 2 height 2 hills, 2 height 4 buildings or rocks or whatever, a flat bit, a height 0 bit, and 2 height 1 obstacles. And the scenario for this particular battle was secure the field. So this is when, I think this is it even in Clash 19? I can't remember. It was in Clash 18 anyway. So you label 2 pieces of terrain, and whoever has the most unit strength within 3 inches of either of those bits of terrain at the end of the battle is the winner. So these are the 2 pieces of terrain which we labelled, so opposite sides of the field. Okay, so on to deployment. So this is our deployment. Bart had the top and I had the bottom. I can't remember who chose. Looking at this, I think probably Bart chose, because I would not have chosen the bottom, but there you go. So he would have deployed first, and this is how he deployed. He's fleabag chariots on the left there, supported by one of the kings. This is the one I think without the brew of keen-eyedness. There's his horde of trolls with 3 trombones around him in the woods. He's got his goons with his rabble. His 3 whizzes ready to jump onto a hill. There's his 3 slashers mounted with their little sharp stick throwers. There is Santa. Don't forget there's a special character as part of the Clash of Claus tournament, which is called Santa. He's a 7 attack, hits on 3s, defense 5, so on and so forth, nimble. But his special ability, he gives everyone within 6 inches of him either elite, vicious, or pathfinder at the beginning of every turn, and you choose. So there you go. So that's his Santa. That's his other king, the one with the Brew of Keen-Eyedness, and there's the Fleabag Riders, so pretty well spread. And in my incredibly original deployment, I've got 4 hordes of slaves. Here's my 2 hordes of shock troops, which is a bit unusual. I wouldn't normally put the shock troops next to the slaves, but I wanted to cover the battlefield, I guess. 2 hordes of blight then behind them, and there's the claw shots ready to again jump up on a hill. We've got a warlock there, a swarm crier there, a Santa there, and a weapon team there behind the slaves. And on the right hand side I've got my Night Terror and my Demon Spawn. So my plan here is basically just kind of trundle forward and send the Demon Spawn and Night Terror down the flank. It's not terribly original, but you know, see how we get along. The one thing I learned is to space things out so I've got enough room to maneuver, which is what I've tried to do. So that was our deployment. So then I won the role to go first, which I took. So on to my first turn. This is not going to be very surprising. So the slaves went forward. The claw shots went up on the hill. The 2 blight moved up in support of the slaves, as did the weapon team and the Santa. And then the 2 shock troops also moved forward. So the one on the right, I popped behind the walls there, so that they were in cover. Nothing's really going to hurt them, but they're really threatening. So that if anything actually tries to move forward, there's a nasty surprise waiting for them. Although frankly, a hindered charge from shock troops isn't very scary because it's hitting on 5s. But that was my thought. And then I think the Swarm Cry moved across to provide some inspiring support. And then in the cowardly move of the battle, the Demon Spawn realised he was going to get shot off the map if he stays there and hid behind the house. Whereas the Night Terror jumped up behind those rocks. I thought that was brilliant. It's not brilliant because if you look where everyone ended up, what I've done is crunch him behind the rocks to the point where next turn when I came to move him, I realised I couldn't. I couldn't even turn without kind of overlapping the rocks. I would literally have to reverse out to get anywhere, which was, yeah, a bit of a waste of a quite expensive hero for rats. But there you go, that was my error. And then the Demon Spawn tried to lightning bolt this Fleabag Riders and missed. So not the most successful turn. On to the Goblin turn 1. So turn 1 combat, that's what we like to see. So the 2 chariots on the left there, one with a king on it, charged into my slaves. So the what are they called? War trombones moved over with the trolls, who moved up a little bit, and then these 2 hordes of rabble, so one's the Grogger's goons, moved up just outside of charge range of the slaves. Wizards, unsurprisingly, popped up on the hill, and the slashers kind of positioned themselves a little bit to shoot me. Santa moved up, and the Fleabag Riders shot down the flank to meet that demon. And then the Goblin King moved over to shoot my rather stuck Night Terror. So this is where everyone ended up. A bit of combat left, but they didn't manage to kill my slaves, which I was very grateful for, because that puts them in a very unpleasant position for next turn. Good. War Trombones did 1 point of damage to my... I think it's only one War Trombone in range, actually. Did 1 point of damage to my slaves. The Wizards did 2 points of damage to my weapon team, which frankly is enough to kill it, but they didn't. And then, oh yes, this slasher shot my demon for 3 points of damage. And his king shot at my Night Terror, but missed him. There you go, a little bit of luck for me. On to my second turn. So, Santa moved up onto the hill. The slaves countercharged. These slaves ran into the trolls, which allowed the blight to flank the king on chariot, which is excellent for me. The shock troops move over to support. And these 3 just move forward. I actually wanted him to charge my slaves. That's what you want. You want them to charge your slaves and kill them so that you can then smash into them next turn. And these guys just moved up a little bit. The Demon Spawn continued to be the most cowardly Demon Spawn since time began. Just moved over because he didn't want to die. And the Night Terror just kind of shuffled a little bit. You think he did a reverse and nimble turn, so he at least was in the front. I think I might have moved, yes, I think I moved him specifically so that the chariot couldn't charge him. The best I could do, basically. I didn't want a chariot because I might not kill him, but it would be really annoying. So I think I moved him so that he wasn't chargeable next turn. So this is where everyone ended up. Yeah, so the weapon team shot at the Wiz that it could see on the hill and killed him, which is ace. I think it was the Alchemist Curse one that he killed. The Demon Spawn did 2 points of damage to the Rabble. My slaves did 3 points of damage to the chariots, which is rubbish, but I don't care. Because the blight killed the Goblin King, so those chariots are buggered next turn. And these slaves did 5 points of damage to the trolls, which is spectacular for a bunch of slaves. Goblin turn 2. So these weapon teams moved over to be a little bit more useful than they were at the time, because one of them is stuck behind a height 3 chariot. The chariots went back into the slaves. The goons and the trolls multi-charged these slaves, good. And the rabble turned to face a little bit, I think to get out of... why would they do that? Who knows? These 2 slashers moved up, and the Goblin King moved over to be at least in shooting range of the Knight Terror who could charge. And then the Fleabag Riders just chased my Demon Spawn around the house. This is where everyone ended up. So, the 2 trombones tromboned my Blight, but Blight have stealthy. Only 2 points of damage, which is great. The Wizards, however, unleashed Lightning Bolt on my weapon team and killed it. It's a bit of revenge. Then all 3 slashers shot at my Blight, at my shock troops, doing 2 points of damage. Yay, cover. Exactly why they're standing right there. And then the Goblin King shot at my Knight Terror, only doing 1 point of damage, which is some terrible rolling. Oh yes, and the chariots over here killed my slaves, which is fine. And these slaves also died to the goons and the trolls, so that's a little bit of clearance there. So Rat's turn 3. Right then, so the Blight went into the chariots, and Santa, allowing Santa, that's right, so Santa could then nimble charge around the side to hit a war trombone. These slaves went into the goons, and these slaves who could now just about reach went into the rabble. And the Blight moved up to support. I just moved my... so I moved the shock troops around so that the Fleabag Riders could charge them. Not that they could through the Demon Spawn. That's right, but then the Demon Spawn. Now this is really confusing move of the match for me, really. I'm not sure why I did this. Maybe I couldn't go anywhere else, but realistically looking at this, it would be better to shove them down to the right of the Fleabag Riders. They still could have been shot, I guess, but this is putting him where I put him there means he's going to die, basically, because he's putting him in the middle of the field, out in the open. There's 5 ranged units in range of him, and he's not even going to charge anyone. He only got 5 lightning bolt. I really don't know what was going through my head, but you know, in the heat of battle and all that sort of thing. Equally, so at this point the Knight Terror could nimble move out of there, but I can move 10 or 9. He's a 9 move. If I turn, move, I could have moved quite a bit further, but I didn't. So yeah, in fact I could have. No, I couldn't have flanked charge. So where I was, I couldn't have seen anything to charge. So basically I was just moving as best I could to get out of there. Very disappointing. Anyway, but that's because of my terrible positioning in turn 1. This is where we ended up. And so the Demon Spawn, having sat there, lightning bolted the chariot. Oh, it's just, you know, why? Anyway, 4 points of damage. Yeah, 4 points of damage, which is good. 4 out of 5 is very impressive, but all the same, it's a slight waste of a very expensive character. The claw shots shot at the trolls and wavered them, despite only 1 point of damage. That's fantastic work. The Blight killed off the chariots, which is great, and Santa killed off the war trombone, equally great. We did 2 points of damage to the goons and 4 points of damage to the rabble, holding them up a little bit. So then, Gobbo's turn 3. What do they do? So, the trolls being wavered couldn't really do anything, so just kind of turned to face Santa and await their fate. 2 counter charges here, and then unsurprisingly, the giant monsters ran into my demon spawn. I just, what was I thinking? Now I've put that the chariot charged my Knight Terror, but I think he shot him. I think he turned and shot him. Maybe he did charge him. In which case, why did I put myself in charge range? I don't think I did. I think he shot him. Anyway. And the Fleabag Riders, realising that the Demon Spawn was a lost cause, but realising equally quickly that they could actually just get around the back of the shock troops, popped around the house there. This is where everybody ended up. 3 points of damage from the remaining slasher and the 2 whizzes. Lightning bolted my shock troops. Oh, it's just, they had 2 already, so there's just 1 point of damage from all of that, which is rubbish. 13 points of damage on these slaves from Gogger's goons, but no waver. And 8 points of damage on these ones, and equally no waver, so good. However, my demon spawn did die, of course, which is just frustrating, as did my Night Terror. So, on to my turn 4. I pretty much lost the right flank, because whatever happens with that shock troops, it's not looking good the next turn, is it? So they did the best they could anyway. So on the left-hand flank, we're doing better. So Santa and the Blight went into the wavered trolls. A couple more counter charges from the slaves. And the Blight joined in on the rabble. The shock troops moved over because it's a turn 4, so we're starting to think about objectives. And the shock troops here just did the best they could and went into the one thing that they could charge, which is the slasher. Hindered charge though, so not good. Needed to kill him to not get a slasher in the flank. We'll see how that went. Well, this is how it went. Not great. So the claw shots did manage to kill one of the other weapon teams, so there's only 1 left now. Santa and the Blight managed to kill the trolls. An extra 3 points, a couple of points of damage from these. Bane chanted slaves, which is kind of cute. And 14 points of damage for the combined Blight and slaves onto the rabble, but no waver or no kill. And disappointingly, the shock troops in the world's worst shock troop award, 6 points of damage to the slasher. Didn't waver him, didn't kill him. Gonna get it in the flank next turn. Oof, not what we like. On to turn 4 for the Gobbos. Okay, so turn 4 Gobbos. So the remaining War Trombone just put themselves in front of the Blight to stop them flank charging the goons. Go for sacrifice. Goons went back into the slaves, and the rabble chose to go into the Blight rather than the slaves. So the whizzes then moved over so they could then try and take care of the slaves, which is pretty cool. Santa and a slasher and the slasher in the front all went into my shock troops. And the Goblin chariot just moved over, as did these guys, because we're thinking about objectives now. And they're rather far away from the 2 pieces of terrain. So this is where everybody ended up. The whizzes managed to kill off the slaves, which is pretty impressive, from a couple of lightning bolts. These goons managed to finish off the other slaves, which is very good for them. However, the rabble managed 6 points of damage onto the Blight, which is not enough to do anything of use. Unlike the shock troops down on the right hand flank, who were obliterated by a double slasher Santa attack. All of whom had elite, or 2 of them had elite. That's what the little stars are, we're just kind of showing which one's got Santa's special ability. So Rat's turn 5. Crunch time now. Now to my benefit, what I've got is control of a large proportion of the board where the objectives are. So I just need to take care of a few units and then defend. So the Blight went back in. Santa went into the Grogger's goons because the other Blight couldn't do anything apart from really go into that weapon, that War Trombone. So not really having anything to shoot. The what were they called? Claw shots. One of them popped up at the double to try and get as close to the top objective, whereas the other one moved to try and get as close to the bottom objective as possible. And the Warlock and shock troops that were remaining kind of positioned themselves to defend. This is where everybody ended up. And a bit of lightning bolt from the Warlock did 1 point of damage to the Fleabag Riders, who are looking rather annoyingly dangerous there. However, the Blight did kill the weapon team, and Santa, freaking legend, 5 points of damage to Grogger's goons. He's worth his weight in gold, I tell you what. I don't know how much his weight is, probably quite a lot. And then the Blight finished off the rabble, which is very good. And they can then turn to face the chariots and the slashers and so on and so forth. So Goblins turn 5. The goons not really having anything else to do went into Santa. And the chariot, who can see over the hill, went into the blight. Santa has only height 1. I'm not sure. Well, anyway. Whatever. We clearly thought he could see the blight. Maybe he could. Maybe I've got it wrong. Anyway, they both went into my blight. And the 3 slashers moved across. And the rebel just moved up to just outside of charge range because, probably quite sensibly, they want to wait for turn 6 when they've got a bit of support. Okie dokie, so the 2 slashers that could reach shot at my shock troops, doing 3 points of damage. The 2 whizzes then shot at my... they drain life, that's right, so one of the whiz has drain life. He drain lifed my blight, plus Santa and chariot attack means destruction for the blight, which is very unfortunate for me. And then the Grogger's Goons did 3 points of damage to Santa, who is the toughest Santa of all time. Final turn. So in this turn, I need to get everything I can as close to the territory as possible. In terms of unit strength, it's looking good for me. So the claw shots moved up to be within, that's 1 point, within the top forest. Santa and the blight went into Grogger's Goons because actually what I need to do is kill them this turn, because that then wipes out 3 unit strength, which is a lot in this scenario. And the other guys didn't do anything because I've got, down the bottom I've got my shock troops within 3 inches, and actually the claw shots are very killable, so I kind of need them to be there as fire support. This is where we all ended up, so we did, oh that's right, so the warlock and the claw shots shot the flea bags. Unfortunately they are behind cover, so only 2 points of damage, alright, 1 extra point of damage, which is not good. We did manage to kill Grogger's Goons though, which is excellent for me. So that was the end of my turn, so then Goblin turn 6. And basically the flea bags then took the opportunity to charge into the shock troops. And everything else just kind of dashed down as hard as possible to get within 3 inches. So this is where everybody ended up. Unfortunately, so the 2 whizzes moved across the top, so I didn't mark that. But they basically trying to kill something. They need to kill something, and they chose to lightning bolt my blight. Only 5 points of damage, so bad luck. They have got, of course, stealthy. And a bit of combat from the flea bags meant only 5 points of damage to my shock troops. So this is the end of turn 6. So looking at the unit strength, so I've got claw shots of 1, Santa's 1, blight of 3, so that's 5 plus 3 from the shock troops is 8 unit strength. He's got his regiment of flea bags of 2, and then 1 for each slasher, 3 for 5. 1 for the chariot, 6, and 1 for Santa is 7, so it's 8-7. However, turn 7. All very tense now, so my victory is literally hanging in the balance. So I need to kill something, everything, as much as possible, basically. So my turn 7. Santa scooted backwards because he did not want to get shot. Because that's 1 unit strength that I really need. And the blight went into the Fleabag Riders. And then I had a real choice. So I've got 2 shooters now. I've got a trooper claw shots and a warlock. And I need to kill something. Whatever that is. So there is a slasher on 6 points of damage. And there is a chariot on 4 points of damage. So we chose to shoot the chariot. And we killed him. Which was ace. And we killed the Fleabags. So his only hope now, because at that point I am way over unit strength. I think the top claw shot probably shot one of the wizards, but missed, by the way. His only hope now is to kill one of my hordes, because he can't reach anything else. So Gobbo's turn 7. Everything he had went into my shock troops. So that's 2 slashers and a Santa. And they've got a good chance of killing that. The other slasher just moved across into the field. And in fact, he did kill them, which is very good, and he did an extra 4 points of damage from the wizards into my blight, but didn't kill them. So what was the final score? 4 to Bart, and 5 to me. It's a 5-4 victory. Really close. I really like it when they get down to the wire right at the end of the game, so we were kind of really counting unit strength right towards the end there. But yeah, a Ratkin victory, which was really good fun. So Bart was a really nice guy. He did get to claim the wooden spoon, which is a victory of sorts. And I didn't come last. Which I was very happy about. I felt like I finally kind of how to play this list. I made some mistakes, some really bad mistakes, but I understood the list up a little bit more and how to use these big hordes, because they are quite difficult to maneuver. So yeah, so that was the end of that. That's the end of that tournament. There is still the end of the what's it called? Call to Arms, which is the UK version of this tournament, which I've got 2 battle reports to do. One of which is against the UK Master. So that was quite interesting. So I'll try and do those as quickly as possible. And then I've got a couple of really nice real life reports with actual pictures of real models to show. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon on Death by Dragons.